member. The next speaker is the Honorable Zibi.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. The committee's report states that after debt service costs, the contingency reserve and provisional allocations, the distribution of funds stands at 48.3% to the national sphere, 42% to provinces, and 9.7% to local government. Of course, the debt service costs are significant, but the report also mentions that part of our fiscal strategy is to pay down the capital debt to reduce interest payments after this fiscal cycle. I want to say, Honorable Finance Minister, I think you know that no such will happen. This undertaking is made each year, and the following year we break our own word. But I'm glad that the conversation about the equitability of the distribution to local government, to provincial government and national government is taking place. But I'd also like to ask that we line up the things properly. Part of what the government, the Treasury, and other areas of government rely on for policy making is Statistics South Africa. It is chronically underfunded. We are going to get to a point where they have to thumbsuck to inform the work of this parliament and the work of government. So can we please do that? Otherwise, a very critical work of working out what actually is an equitable share is going to be compromised. Several speakers have stated here that municipalities in and of themselves battle to make the right policy decisions because of this very problem. We need to sort it out. That is the first thing. The second thing is that I think we must also accept that given the state of administration in municipalities, we are throwing good money after bad. And one of the things that's really important for us to do, and I'd like to appeal to the Honorable Minister Hlabisa of Kokta, that we need to think about what the correct package of reforms for local government is going to be, so that we do not increase allocation and give him more money to the same municipalities that misallocate it, that waste it, run parallel administrations, and so on. And then we also ask the Auditor General to fix the problem. That is not going to work, and that is critical work that the Parliament needs to make. And the last thing that I want to talk about is that municipalities are particularly important in the context of the growth conversation. Every business is in a municipality. As they die, they drag the economy down with them. So whatever systemic interventions we make, they need in the end to drive towards local economic growth, job creation, and the kind of administration that South Africans can be proud of. We will vote for this report. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Schlazer Webster.
Honourable Chair, numerous speakers before me have quoted the allocation of 2.95 trillion, which is to provinces and municipalities over the medium term in this bill. And it's a sizable amount, and rightly so, because this is where citizens actually interface with the budget. It's where essential services take place, where schools, clinics, where electricity and housing are delivered. But despite the sizable allocation, the outcomes are continuing to fall short, and there's a chasm between funding and function that does need fixing. The country's most pressing crises of stagnant growth, chronic unemployment, and poor service delivery are ultimately symptoms of poor governance. And this is especially evident at local level, where the proverbial rubber hits the road. So we must be alert as a House to the continuation of the trend of allocating large sums of money with little assurance that there's performance which will follow. We can't continue a trend where money is allocated and there aren't clear mechanisms for consequence management or accountability. In local government, municipalities will receive 553 billion over the medium term, and they will remain reliant on intergovernmental transfers, which make up over 70% of their total budgets. And this structure of funding allows responsibility to be outsourced. If many people are responsible for the budget, it ends up being that nobody is actually held responsible. On governance, the Auditor General tells us that only 38 out of 257 municipalities received clean audits, and there's fruitful and wasteful expenditure, which then continues to rise. Yet, we continue to transfer large sums with no reform in return. So if we want to see growth, if we want to see particularly job creation, we can't ignore local infrastructure, specifically bulk water, roads, electricity, and we still have the implications of ESCOM, where debt is overwhelming. Municipalities owe over 70 billion to ESCOM, and this is an economic constraint which we cannot ignore. We need to be more intentional also about spatial justice, because these same areas that were historically excluded under apartheid continue to lack infrastructure today. And so we don't have in this bill any targeted reforms to change those spatial patterns. And as Build One South Africa, we continue to call for SEZs to be seen and made in townships, strategic townships in this country. Lastly, as Parliament, we have to take our oversight role more seriously. We can't authorize allocations and walk away, and so we support this bill, Chair, but we do so calling for stronger conditions for performance and a clearer framework for oversight. We thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Zungula. Order, Honourable Members. Order.
Thank you, Chair. The Division of Revenue must fundamentally respond to the challenges facing the country. Taxes should be transformative and redistributive. Doctors are leaving the country. The remaining doctors are overworked, and sometimes they need to complete triple shifts as the hospitals are understaffed. In some hospitals and clinics, there's shortages of doctors, nurses, and medical equipment. Children are dying of fake foods that are sold in some establishments, and the environmental health practitioners that are trained to prevent such are sitting at home. Communities are overwhelmed by criminals, and yet community policing forums are neglected and SAPS is understaffed. These are the pressing issues that need to be addressed, and the Division of Revenue must put the people first. Money must be made available to hire more doctors, environmental health practitioners, police reservists, and fund community policing forums. Given the ongoing widespread problem of companies not complying with labor laws, as we saw with the George building collapse, increased allocations to employment and labor for the sourcing of inspectors is critical. SARS turning a blind eye on the taxation in both the formal and the informal sector that is drained by remittances to China, Pakistan, and Bangladesh and other countries is a major cause of concern. We can't turn a blind eye on the fact that people come from other countries, use the infrastructure and services paid for by poor South African taxpayers. They make billions in South Africa but pay no taxes. Instead, they remit billions to their home countries. SARS must be allocated more funding to decisively curb illicit financial flows that are over 100 billion per annum. This would increase the revenue of the state by targeting the multinationals that are illicitly draining the economy. The Division of Revenue must prioritize human development outcomes, not just tick fiscal boxes. Provinces like the Eastern Cape, Limpopo remain incapacitated despite large populations and high poverty levels. While local government receives a significant allocation, too many municipalities remain dysfunctional and riddled with corruption. The money allocated to municipalities must not be a reward for dysfunction. Lastly, the municipal infrastructure grant and equitable share transfers must be linked to compliance, functionality, and performance, not for the benefit of the politically connected few, because most municipalities are known that there's certain people or a certain group of people who are committing corruption and riddling those institutions. We do not support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member.